So I will I will just say a few words here to open tonight's event before we move over to Stefan Müller-Dom. And I just like to say a few words on the title, the future of critical theory, or the future of critical theory. It could also be had a longer title, maybe the past, the present, and the future of critical theory. And I think these threefold aspects of time are important here, because in some sense it is obvious that the Frankfurt School originated in a period, in a context which is moving away from us, the 20s and the 30s. And obviously there are resonances between that period and our period, but there are also essential differences. And I just point to four of them, and I think we'll come back to them, continue during discussion here. I mean, the first is the question of capitalism. I mean, the concept of capitalism was obviously at the horizon of the first generation of the Frankfurt School. The question of Marxism, what does it mean to have a critique of capital? This has been transformed. I don't know to what extent the critique of capitalism still is an essential part of critical theory. We'll probably hear more about this, but transformations of, let's say, globalization, post-Fordism, all kinds of mutations in our mode of production have obviously necessitated some kind of rethinking of the concepts of classical critical theory. The second point would be the idea of critical theory as located somewhere in between the human sciences and the social sciences, but also having a particular relation, maybe not so intimate, but to the natural sciences. I would say today we have a rather different constellation of the natural, human, and social sciences. In what way would critical theory inhabit this present constellation? That would be another topic. The third topic would be the problem of philosophy itself. As we know, as has been remarked here, critical theory is in many respects an heir to classical German idealism. And in what sense is this tradition still alive today? Can we continue the legacy of Kant and Hegel, of as it were, the sources of critical theory? I mean, today we have a division between, say, analytic continental philosophy, and even though many are trying to overcome this division, it still exists. And how should we locate critical theory in respect of that division? The works of scholars or philosophers like Habermas and Honneth and others have surely attempted to overcome this divide, yet it still persists. So how is critical theory related to the, as it were, the modern or the contemporary constellation of philosophical schools? And finally, the question of the arts. We know that thinkers like Benjamin Adorno put greater emphasis on aesthetic questions. Art was something that contained the promise of a different world. Does art still do that today? Is art still something that points ahead to a transformed sense of the world? I would say that in many contemporary critical theories, specifically in the Frankfurt School tradition, aesthetic questions have started to move to the side. So I would also like to ask the question, to what extent is aesthetics still a part of critical theory? So you see there are resonances between past and present, but there are also problems that we have to face when we try to understand those resonances. And finally, the question of the future, of course. In what direction should critical theory move? Is there one direction it should move? I think that any kind of critical invention must contain some sense of a future. It must contain some sense of an imagined future, perhaps in the sense of this exact imagination, the exacte fantasie, of which Adorno spoke once. And the question would be then, what is our imagination? How do we imagine the future of critical theory or the future of society? So these are different, as it were, fields of problems, and they will obviously they resonate with each other, and we will come back to them over and over again, I assume, during these 3 days. And to end here and to hand over, I say I cannot think of so many people that we should be so adequately placed to address these questions as, or to at least to begin address them, as Stefan Müller-Dom, who will give the first talk tonight. Stefan Müller-Dom is Professor Emeritus of Sociology at the University of Oldenburg. He has published extensively on communication theory, theories of public space, sociology of communication. He has written very important biographies of Adorno in 2008 and Habermas in 2014. And he has a long legacy of working with with all the facets of critical theory. And the title of Stefan's talk is "What is Critical Theory?" And I think we're all eager to know that now. So we're looking forward to the answer.